Locate.
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 Locate people? Locate people?
Like
Renee?
Again, really. I don't know how I feel about it. I can't, really locate what I feel.
Is that why you called me? To help you locate your feelings? To help you locate your feelings? To help you locate your feelings?
So did they find Dr. Grant yet?
Not exactly, no. Now we can't seem to locate Dr. Walsh either. Locate Dr. Walsh either. Locate Dr. Walsh either.
You locate goatee.
Please take a moment to locate the emergency exits. They are located here, and here, and here.
I'm trying to locate a deactivated cell phone, drop a little heat map, see if I can't triangulate this guy's position.
New in her life.
You got it. Meantime, we located that cabbie. He says 2 female passengers saw the attack on a video call.
The hospital won't share security footage without a court order.
But I was able to locate a street cam with a view of the hospital entrance.
Haddad has a checked bag on the flight. FBI needs you to locate and search it.
It is?
Us radio heads call it a Yagi. I rigged it to locate the source of the screech using frequency triangulation.
Thought you could locate this thing, build a egg detector or something,
To drop everything else. Go to Gold. I'm sure he has some kind of magic that can help locate Regina.
I need you to locate somebody. Who? We have to stop their money flow.
I want to know how.
Locate the source and then cut off the tap.
Function.
Function.
Function. Function.
Function.
Breaking the rules. You understand that? You're breaking the rules. Society can't function without rules.
Oh. You are a distraction. That's your function. That's your function. That's your function. I will tolerate that.
Particularly the area that controls executive function. Function. That's the part of the brain that stops people from doing whatever random and potentially destructive thing that pops into their heads.
I suppose you are aware that this device can only function in the daylight.
I was prepared for that. Now, did they put an eagle and a lion on your arms for fashion or for function? It's time for you to show them who you are.
I was invited to a work function. It's a party.
Start small. Just see if you can get the nano chip to function.
And though your timing was a function of my gambit, it was nevertheless fortuitous.
Brainwave function within standard limits.
I told you the treadmill could take it.
When we were kids, our parents were always gone, some state function or another.
Male.
The kind of atrocities associated with this killer seem to be a function of masculine traits.
No, it's a team guy thing. We do it to boost energy, enhance brain function. Hey, enhanced brain function. You should try it. Maybe you think more clearly.
But you're still able to function. What's on your definition of function?
Family functions are usually reserved for serious suitors, so shouldn't you be asking Casey?
Distribution.
Distribution.
Distribution. Distribution. Distribution.
So what do your parents do?
Well, my mom doesn't work, and my dad works for a film distribution company. Film distribution company.
Oh, no, not all day. We do building maintenance, IT, office supplies, mail distribution. We've been working on this list of what we do in case anyone asks.
And today, she and Eric are going to be partying with a mid-level dude in a distribution ring out of Playa del Rey.
MDMA or ecstasy they found means that they've charged Jason with distribution of narcotics.
Are delivering the vaccine to areas that have been cordoned up.
Distribution efforts begin in earnest.
The importance of getting the information out to those still alive within the project.
I get in on Bella's distribution side. I can put Briggs in a position to recover an insane amount of drugs.
On Lexington Avenue.
All the major cellular companies ship from distribution warehouses upstate.
That's not it.
As you would eventually discover, Dr. Malone has a prior arrest for illegal distribution of prescription meds.
Paper distribution is standard policy for this sort of evidence.
Enjoy.
After
the Urca has been secured, and the money warehoused before distribution.
The men know where their next distribution's coming from, and it isn't you.
You're right. This is likely the most reasonable distribution given our relative strengths.
Annoy.
Annoy. Annoy. Annoy. Annoy.
The day you were shot, they came for me. Since then, 2 more times. You're beginning to annoy me. To annoy me. To annoy me.
Who are they?
How the hell should I know?
Because you guys have a history. Evidently, you went all Jose Canseco on him and put a baseball bat through his windshield.
Are you trying to annoy me? Annoy me? Annoy me?
He doesn't have to try. He's naturally annoying.
It's a gift, really.
This thing, let's try not to annoy each other. Annoy each other. Annoy each other.
Don't annoy me.
Actually, I'm kind of like annoyed that they only gave me 3 months for obstructing your justice.
Any chance I could squeeze in there with you, Manny, old pal?
Oh, isn't there someone else you can annoy? Friends, family?
This is a song about new love and how people find each other, even though it might annoy someone's sister.
By nature or nurture or both. And to be honest, Caleb, you're starting to annoy me now because this is your insecurity talking.
Another one, so I was like, peace out, I'm gonna go and annoy my friend.
That's so
This is
great.
I don't know how much you kids know about penal codes, but making phone calls with the intent to annoy or harass is a serious offense.
Now, when I say I'm looking for Pinkman, we both know why, don't we? And you pretending otherwise only wastes my time and serves to annoy me.
I'm sorry I yelled at you. Just come on back in the house.
I don't want to annoy you with my loseriness.
Conclusion.
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 How can any of this produce even one useful conclusion? Conclusion. Conclusion.
Your limited military experience doesn't exactly inspire confidence in your conclusions. Conclusions.
Besides, I voted for McCain. In conclusion, stop fucking around.
Well, I wouldn't leap to conclusions. Mr. Trump can be pretty rough.
In the end, after viewing our past performance, we could come to only one conclusion.
I've had a chance to do a lot of thinking. A lot. And I've come to the conclusion that it's not anyone but me.
I'm not looking for, but I'm still grateful that you're not a creep.
Let's not jump to any conclusions there.
Chief Inspector Finch.
Do you have any evidence to support this conclusion, Mr. Finch?
No, sir.
Last night just got the better of me, that's all.
Well, 2 things. I think it's way too early to jump to any conclusions, and,
And now our thief is dead and the files it took are missing.
Well, let's not jump to conclusions.
New insight into your diamond. After reviewing test results on the stone, my colleagues and I all reached the same conclusion.
Which is?
Component.
Component. Component. Component.
Component.
what are we doing?
There's clearly a component missing. The device used to control the Bluetooth booster.
I've thought about adding an extra component to the outer coat to prevent the vaccine from drying out.
You saw our demo at Homebrew. You know what it's capable of with the right components, which, by the way, all of which, you sell. So, demo it to the consumer. And market the components separately.
Is there any way that we could radio him? It's very important that I discuss something with him.
You jumped into the ocean without radio components.
Visual examination doesn't reveal any damaged components. The problem must be originating from the comms panel.
And over the next few days, you're going to be the human component in the Turing test.
Is it
Maybe, but it'll take half a day just to dry up the components to see what's broken.
Ever find out where they crashed?
We need every component we can get our hands on if we're gonna make walkies.
A lot more.
Why couldn't you have been marooned on Aruba?
There's a third component. A strong sedative.
But one developer realized that the only way to reduce heat and power consumption was to bring the components closer together. Supervirus.
Rogue nations, terrorist groups who believe they can replicate the alpha component on their own.
What he's trying to say is there's an audio component to cloaking that inverts sound waves, too.
And to that end, I hope...
To isolate the genetic component, yes. A comparison between the two could be invaluable.
Commerce.
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 Best Hotel and Case Commerce Building. Commerce Building. Commerce Building.
Case Commerce. The candy canes. Case Commerce CC. That's where Edmund was.
Commerce, 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 biology.
Just stop talking.
Yeah.
Wants to see the Commerce Building, so I'm gonna meet him there tonight at 9.
We have enjoyed free commerce between our lands. Tonight, we make a bargain for something far greater.
I loathe bankers. They rigged the roulette wheel of commerce, very nearly destroyed the world economy. The full spectrum of commerce and communication flows through her optic fibers.
All right.
The island needs commerce to survive. It needs labor. It needs men and women vested in its interests.
Decided to tell me on our way to a Chamber of Commerce luncheon where I was going to get an award.
My father isn't here. I am. So back to running commerce, David. It's what you're good at when you're not interfering with my plans for this city. You're going to resign as both Minister of Commerce and Consul, and I'm going to have all your responsibilities handled by someone of my choice.
Fate.
Fate.
Fate. Fate.
Fate?
That could only be explained by one thing. Fate. Fate. Fate.
No.
My poor lamb. So you would rather accept your fate?
My fate. My fate. My fate.
I must know my brother's fate. My brother's fate. My brother's fate.
We call this the loom of fate.
Can't outrun your fate, David.
I just disagree with you about what my fate is.
What are you saying? Are you saying that you two are fated to be together?
I've lived for a very long time, Ray. And the one thing I learned, fate doesn't decide everything.
This is not our fate.
Their fate will be my fate. Your fate.
My fate is sealed, as is appropriate. But you? I think there's still a chance.
No. That's the fate that's in store for us, I'm afraid.
Acquisition.
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 Acquisition. Acquisition.
Ann was in our acquisition department. Our acquisition department. Our acquisition department.
Trap 1, possible target acquisition. Acquisition. Acquisition.
What you do is quite extraordinary. If only my acquisitions managers had your nerve, then I'd be a rich man.
We're starting to think you stood us up. Robert Gilmore, VP of Acquisitions.
He wants an extra 3 points rake back and his day cost per acquisition.
I mean, I'll be going back to them. Yeah.
You should put it here. Even though dentists like to show off all their acquisitions.
Much has been learned since then. But today, I'd like to focus on some recent studies from my lab on the acquisition of past tense irregular verb forms in children between the ages of 18 months and 2.5 years.
One of the preeminent Dutch painters of his time.
Relatively recent acquisition, if I'm not mistaken.
On it.
GH3 has target acquisition.
Copy that.
Here's everything on Stelmore International. The vice president of acquisitions is a woman named Isabel Rochev. The anomaly appears to be environmental, not genetic. Is that?
It's just another acquisition.
I disagree.
But your inability to successfully woo Penny long predates your acquisition of the time machine.
What gave me away? Gerard Hirsch, appraisals.
Naomi Lynn, acquisitions.
Afraid.
Afraid. Afraid.
Afraid.
Afraid.
I can snowboard.
They have a bunny hill.
I don't need a bunny hill.
What are you so afraid of? Afraid of?
I'm not afraid of anything. Afraid of anything. Afraid of anything. I could kick your ass anytime, anywhere.
He's not going to do that, is he?
Afraid so. Afraid so. Afraid so. Oh, man. It's gone.
Afraid so, ma'am.
Set my head on fire before I conga.
Men are afraid to dance. The male ego is too fragile.
I'm not afraid. I'm a man.
I'm not afraid of you. I'm afraid of losing you.
Chambers? Not without these clients' names becoming part of public record. Isn't that right, Ms. Shaw?
Yes, I'm afraid so.
I'm sorry, Mrs. Florrick, but if you're looking for a hero, I'm afraid I'm not it.
He deserves to die.
Big talk is easy when you're not the executioner.
You think I'm afraid of that? Show me the switch. I'd be happy to throw it.
You should be very afraid of me. Slut.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, have fun with the whole Nancy envy and the drug deal and taking and the wanting and the not being afraid.
Don't you know where we are?
What did he mean?
I'm afraid we don't have time to deal with that right now, John.
Cafeteria. Cafeteria.
Cafeteria.
Cafeteria.
Cafeteria.
High school? Bullshit. Cafeterias called the nutrition center. People wear their leather jackets even when it's 98 degrees out.
Last time we'll ever be together in the band room.
Last time we'll ever eat pizza and nasty tater tots in the cafeteria.
What about the rest of the prison?
In the morning, we'll find a cafeteria, and infirmary. How long you been locked in that cafeteria?
I mean, even aspirin. The aspirin. Jesus. And you ate the food in the cafeteria and drank the coffee they gave you.
Where's Chase?
Main floor.
Okay, you take the cafeteria and administration. I'll hit the research annex and work my way back to you.
Cafeteria. Stay away from the sushi.
Of course.
And she is also on cafeteria cleaning detail for the next 2 weeks.
Have you seen my wife?
Yeah, she's in the cafeteria.
Hey, did you know there's a cafeteria in the building? There's a cold-pressed juice bar, organic salad station.
I know. I ran into Dr. Lockhart in the cafeteria. I thought maybe, I don't know.
What'd the Spike boy say? Probably more survivors down there. Most likely it's the cafeteria.
Well, that's good. That's where they all congregate.
Artificial. Artificial.
Artificial. Artificial.
Artificial.
Know they're interacting with a computer, the test is passed.
And what does the past tell us?
That the computer has artificial intelligence. It's artificial intelligence. It's artificial intelligence.
You turned off the artificial gravity everywhere but in here.
For example, if one were to receive an artificial limb, an artificial limb, an artificial limb.
The effort to develop a strong artificial intelligence has led to significant advancements in the field of neural engineering.
Why don't you let me fix you some of this new Mococo drink? All natural cocoa beans from the upper slopes of Mountain Nicaragua, no artificial sweeteners.
It's an electroactive polymer. It changes shape when you run a current through it. DARPA's been
developing it to create artificial muscle for wounded soldiers.
Why would Skynet, an artificial computer intelligence, bother to create a petite, hot 17-year-old killer robot? The Japanese, they're doing some wonderful work with artificial intelligence.
That only applies if you need me to help you destroy an artificial intelligence you created that's taking over the Earth.
I don't understand. What other kind of women are there?
Howard, artificial women are your department. You want to take this?
I know. When I snaked the vent, it created an artificial backflow and flushed some of the remains into the sink line, but I'm gonna get every last bit.
What's this perfectly round thing? Artificial knee. Oh.
Ruled out, it would have decreased sperm production.
Artificial testosterone, yes.
Nowhere.
Nowhere. Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Nowhere.
Yeah.
I'm nowhere near that hungry. Nowhere near that hungry. Nowhere near that hungry.
Where? There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go.
Tell me you got something.
No. No, we're nowhere. No, we're nowhere. No, we're nowhere.
First they take out Greeley and then you and Lewis. You've there to make sure my investigation went nowhere.
Okay? I've had it with all your little art projects that are going nowhere.
I hate to tell you, Rex, but you're going nowhere. That's official.
No! There's nowhere left for them to go! The old holes are frozen over!
It's not my fault. The pregnancy did something to my brain. I don't get it, okay? The baby is nowhere near your brain.
We raided this meth house, and the shot came out of nowhere.
King hell. Look, what are we doing here? We're in the middle of nowhere.
Never had to fire your weapon in the evening? Yeah, but they're nowhere near that lesson yet.
Reconcile.
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 Our differences, I'm afraid, cannot be reconciled. Reconciled. Reconciled.
Hotel chain in Islip. I assume that you and your wife separated for a while and then reconciled.
I asked you to move in. That meant we weren't gonna reconcile.
Thou mightst condemn us as poisonous of your honor. No. Our suit is that you reconcile them.
A coincidence.
You hate coincidence.
We reconcile. It was the whole thing. And then the question becomes, will the sister show up at the funeral?
She tried to reconcile, but the bad memories crowded out the good.
I'm technically married. The chicken looks good.
You shouldn't be dating at all until your divorce is final. I mean, what if you and your wife reconcile?
Whoa. A family dinner. It's a chance to reconcile.
I don't want to reconcile with Sarah.
Felicity, what are you saying?
There were certain things about the forensics that I couldn't reconcile with.
You want to know why? It's simple. You can't reconcile all the ugly, horrible things you do with the hero you so desperately want to become.
I've got it! I finally reconciled the black hole information paradox with my theory of string network condensates.
Wouldn't it have been easier to reconcile with her before? Her curse destroys the land?
Seem like empty words to you.
You got that right.
Which is why I didn't expect to reconcile our differences in one conversation.
Publish.
Publish. Publish. Publish.
Publish.
Paul Revere did not become a nationally known figure until 1861, after Longfellow published the poem. Published the poem. Published the poem.
It's to publicize it. It'll cause unrest. Mr. Hitchcock has agreed to be discreet.
Yes, they will not publish until the palace publishes.
Short stories. I said that if eventually I have enough good ones, that maybe I'll try and publish another collection. Publish another collection. Publish another collection.
I have an interview tomorrow at Laxton Press. It is the second best publishing house in the world.
I'm a published poet who...
Lester wanted to take an open source approach, publish his research online, and then develop it with his peers to speed up the process.
Yes. Daughter to Stephanie Dashby.
Of Dashby Publishing?
What's a reporter got to do with this?
6 months ago, he tried to publish an article called Inside Dream World.
I know. It's crazy, right? 1 minute I'm publishing this book on how long-term potentiation initiates the creation of a slow-moving...
Please publish the verdict.
In the Superior Court of Starr County.
Okay. But after, we go to my lab, get the nanotech, inject it in me, and publish the results in the New England Journal of Medicine.
But the university threatened to shut us down, so Professor Stein published his paper without them giving permission. They went nuts.
For Susan's safety, we asked them not to publish it.
I'm not sure exactly how this works, so you want to publish a book, is there a contract?
Mess.
Mess. Mess.
Mess. Mess.
Crazy because he's a catch. And you need to know that if you mess with him, you mess with me. You mess with me. You mess with me.
And if you mess with anybody down here, you messing with me.
We are 3 points up with 6 days to go. The only way Wendy Scott Carr wins is if we mess up. We mess up. We mess up.
Just so you know, today is not the day to mess with me. To mess with me. To mess with me. Someone in the lobby just told me that my tie makes me look like $1 million.
Dad, you heard what Mom said.
That mess right there happened down south.
This could have been me.
Right now?
Hates the man.
Okay, well, that seems a bit juvenile, wouldn't you say?
Go mess with him, see what happens.
Bonered.
Just like right in the dick. Oh.
Yo, she showed those D-bags from Lincoln.
Hey, this is why you don't mess with those Vikings.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know your personal situation. Frankly, I don't want to know. My tolerance for mess is minimal.
We're Masada, baby. We don't mess around with mind games. We use knives.
Toothpaste and deodorant. I have the receipt.
You weren't anywhere near the mess hall.
I just said I wasn't.
So, are you just gonna follow me the rest of my life?
I won't have to. You'll mess up.
So why would you do that?
What, mess with you or get the tattoo?
The fucking tattoo.
Don't mess with her. She's loco.
I really am.
Impact.
Impact. Impact. Impact.
Impact.
Bird is in the air. Impact in 10, 9. Impact in 10, 9. Impact in 10, 9.
Wait! No.
The immediate problem is not their death, but rather the impact of their disappearance. Impact of their disappearance. Impact of their disappearance.
Without explanation, they estimate only hours left before its devastating impact. Impact. Impact.
We must not let ourselves forget the 11 men who died on that Transocean rig, or the impact the spill has had on the Gulf Coast.
Was problems. It was fine as long as it didn't impact me, but that's over, and I refuse.
Will fire, acting as landing rockets. They will slow the impact even further. Now, our target speed for impact with the ground is 70 miles per hour.
Hey, lady, we got a jumper?
Judging by the impact, I'd say he came from one of those windows above the 7th floor.
Regina, your new album, Fatal Impact, drops next week. What can you tell us about it?
It's up 8. Looks like your 5-0 task force is making an impact.
I mean, if they wanted to hit us bad, they'd have far more impact on the mainland. She was killed on impact.
According to this, the couple was thrown down the cliff into the sea. She died on impact, and her body was recovered a few kilometers away. Her husband survived.
I'm out. There's no further risk of impact on you, and you continue to have the city's full support.
The trees collapsed 2 of the main beams. We need to limit the amount of impact load.
Gee, this is Dawson. I'm behind a building. West of the impact site, I've got a juvenile victim with an open fracture head wound.
Trim. Trim.
Trim.
Trim. Trim.
We're in an overfull lifeboat.
I have to trim mergers and acquisitions, and I'm asking your opinion.
I know a lot of women shave completely, but I don't like that. You know, it makes me feel like a little girl. But if you want, I could trim it.
Your hair's getting long. You should come round, I'll trim it.
I see it now.
Costa Rica. Aruba.
Carl with a K was trim, worldly, and well-traveled.
Get off work?
It'll be really late. Max and I still have to go to the cupcake shop and tape up the windows so we can start the trim tomorrow.
Attention, ladies! As you see, I have the big scissors, which can only mean it's time to trim some nose hairs.
So, I think you deserve a spa and vet day, huh? Trim these nails, brush that hair, kind of miss shops.
I didn't kill Deanna.
I want you to trim your fingernails.
No.
Can't have people looking in here thinking I'm a snitch. You sit in a chair, you get a trim, you look like a customer. It's one of the last bastions where a man can truly unplug from the world, you know, even if it's just for a trim and a shave.
Black top with gold trim, black shiny jeans, thin shoes, straps.
I was wondering, can I trim your hedges? Like $5 an hour?
May I trim your hedges?
Oh, right, yeah, sorry. May I trim your hedges?
Practically. Practically. Practically.
Practically. Practically.
Where the heck did this come from? It's practically mush. Practically mush. Practically mush.
Here comes Jimmy Washington, always the crowd favorite. You know, when it comes to Special Olympics records, Jimmy practically wrote the book. Jimmy practically wrote the book. Jimmy practically wrote the book.
Now, I just want to go back to work.
Let's do that then. Let's go back to work. I mean, I practically apologized here. Practically apologized here. Practically apologized here.
You're practically superhuman. Superhuman.
Are you going?
Oh, I don't think so.
He practically raped Joyce, you know, threatening her with those knives of his. It's a miracle she escaped.
She was coached. She used practically the same words as Carly and the nurse, like she'd been told exactly what to say. Who's Andrew latest?
2 visits a day, but, you know, with all the traffic on the 110, that's practically impossible.
Huge golfer. I practically grew up there.
Honey, it's practically all I thought about for 8 years.
Rex, this was practically assault.
Mrs. Stark, what Andrew did was clearly wrong.
Come on, she's practically walking you two down the aisle.
Oh, he left his phone.
Intuitive. Practically alive.
Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Sacrifice.
Sacrifice. Sacrifice.
She was a warrior. A great warrior. Her sacrifice still inspires us.
Yeah, don't laugh. It's awesome. It's about honor and sacrifice, and bravery and heroism.
This one represents sacrifice.
You must understand. We Japanese are a selfless people, capable of immense sacrifice.
Ah, the pain on his face. The mark of resignation in it.
Well, it is a willing sacrifice, is it not?
It requires sacrifice.
Women explore for eternity in the vast garden of sacrifice.
When I gave you the go-ahead to represent Dr. Wesley, I thought you knew not to sacrifice a major client for a minor one.
You think that I would sacrifice my own son?
Where's the sacrifice? I thought virgins were waiting for him.
17.
How could I ask anyone to make a sacrifice that I'm not willing to make myself?
He was a human sacrifice at the altar of your sacred badge.
Art requires sacrifice. Haberdasher is not on my resume.
Antique.
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 You're into it all. Leo, I just don't see how a fucking mantelpiece antique keeps Rario's swords from our fucking necks.
Christ, so can you just an economy? And that armoire was an antique. And that armoire was an antique. And that armoire was an antique. It was worth $2,000 at least. But I never lived.
But only half. These defects bothered you enough to seek out a replacement bobbin for your antique machine. For antique machine. For antique machine.
Was the Explorer's hat?
Mm-hmm. Why?
I've got a friend who runs an antique shop in the Portobello.
That.
It's hanging on the hook on the side of that big shelf. It looks like antique earbuds with kind of a crown on top.
Century. They go after like museums, archaeological digs, antique auction houses. They'll even go after private vests and collectors if they're trafficking in stolen vests and antiquity.
A habit like that would die hard.
I'll start checking antique bookstores in the morning to see if Warburg contacted any of them.
Oh, Richard, look at these beautiful antique chandeliers.
Zyla, did Jean-Pierre happen to mention I collect antiques?
No.
I sought to stockpile held-only artifacts. Not everything we dug out of the ground was an antique, my friend.
Anything? Yeah, I got some antique silverware. Got about 100K in jewelry here.
Evidence that your father collected. I did a little digging. Turns out that key belongs to a piece of antique American furniture from the 1800s.
Oh, man, I'm all set. It's like you found a museum piece. I liberated this from an antique store.
Asleep.
Asleep. Asleep.
Asleep.
Asleep.
Where's Anya?
She's still asleep. Asleep. Asleep.
I love the Smiths. Best breakup band ever. What's your favorite song?
Asleep, asleep, asleep. It's from Louder Than Bombs.
What's up, girl? What are you doing here? My parents are asleep. They're asleep. They're asleep.
The Negro ball player. Is he in there?
He's asleep right now.
Stand around for a while.
Shut up and watch it.
Then we went to night fishing. He's asleep.
I accidentally mixed my antihistamine medication with, a little glass of wine I was having, and I fell asleep, while I was watching our kids.
It's 42 degrees. We're gonna freeze to death.
Listen, don't panic. I'm sure when you don't come home, Tom will come looking for you.
No, he won't. He takes a pain pill at 10. He's probably already asleep.
Let's find a skate spot.
Skate spot? I'm totally in.
But what's Splinter gonna say?
I don't know what's going on because they snuck out while I was asleep.
Penny? Penny? Penny?
Sheldon, what is it?
Leonard's asleep.
And I would hold you close. And I would rock you. And you would look out at the rain and fall back asleep.
So he's finally asleep.
Where's my gun?
Hey, turn that thing down. My little brother's asleep.
Pension.
Pension.
Pension. Pension.
Pension.
I took my job, my pension, my pension, my pension, my dignity. When they went over that wall, they took all of it right along with them.
My losses. Go to work, retire on a nice government pension, government pension, government pension.
Now I'm being pushed out before my 20. No pension, no pension, no pension, no benefits. My country owes me.
And they're buying this party line that they're supposed to feel bad and trade off their own pension as if that's what's bankrupting this nation.
Dead, maybe. Not according to Social Security and a bank account in Virginia. His pension is deposited monthly, and someone is making the occasional withdrawal.
She had pension, savings, all that, but she kept going back to work because she said when people looked at her, they saw a doctor.
No.
Mr. Redmond claims refunding the Halcyon pension plan has always been his intent.
Mike Velasco. He made his pension last year. Took a part-time job so he could spend more time with his grandkids.
And you sure as hell didn't want to live your retirement out on half your pension in a small rented apartment on the south side of Chicago.
You're gonna walk away with a very nice pension.
It's all worked.
Well, it's the apartment and a couple bonds.
And the military pension.
Hey, no, thank you, guys. And, Mouch, I wanted to ask you about helping me sort out my insurance pension, getting her name on it.
Opinion, son. Well, then you take my badge, Chief. You take my uniform, you take my pension, whatever you want. But you are not shutting down that line!
Bean. 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 Bean.
Bean.
I'll say that.
I like the green beans. Green beans. Green beans. You do? Yeah, I don't think you ever get enough spaghetti and green beans.
But I don't think you have to chew your refried beans that many times. It doesn't really make sense.
Beans. 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 The first item is beans.
Mike already asked Bella for that information? No beans, no beans, no beans.
That was before.
So where are they gonna be?
Oatmeal and baked beans. Some new women and children.
I saw a woman stab her sister in the back for a can of beans. Beans, beans. The apocalypse is here.
So I don't think this is the right climate to be growing coffee beans. Coffee beans. Coffee beans.
Lima beans.
Come again?
The lectins in lima beans, they react to the surface of red blood cells.
But I'm a man who trades in hard-to-find objects. Like a bean. A magic bean that can transport you between worlds.
Allow him to speak. I want my bean. Let me tell you how it works on my ship. I make the demands, you follow them. Bean's not mine.
Terrorism.
Terrorism. Terrorism. Terrorism.
Terrorism.
Fear nuclear war. Then came terrorism. Then came terrorism. Then came terrorism. Ebola.
I launched my plan to rebrand Starling into Star City. Didn't count on cyber terrorism. Cyber terrorism. Cyber terrorism.
Golem Kadir excels at everything he puts his mind to. Be it business, philanthropy, or terrorism. Terrorism. Terrorism.
These drugs bankroll terrorism, and it's our job to stop it.
Sunday. We're bringing him back to headquarters, where he's going to start our new Information Assurance Division, safeguarding the Bureau's IT system from cyber terrorism and infiltration.
You wanted to see me?
Miss Abbott, I believe you know Inspector Paul Anderson from Counterterrorism Command?
Good morning.
Nobody cares. But you use my weapons on LAPD, I'm looking at terrorism charges. Can't have that.
As long as he tried to loose sarin on U.S. soil, doesn't matter it was empty. It's still an act of terrorism.
You have a judge you can trust? I'll handle it. Yeah, but Pratt's on the Crime and Terrorism Subcommittee. He'll figure it out. You won't have much time.
Bought that milk.
Right, do you think this could be an act of terrorism?
Or a random act of mayhem like the Thailand scare in the 80s? We need to start looking at this as an act of terrorism.
Except for the fact that no group or individual has claimed responsibility.
Philharmonic. His penchant for the bottle cut his career short.
How exactly does this help stop terrorism?
If Abby were involved with domestic terrorism, which would be a relevant crime, the machine would have given her number to...
Terrorism?
Possibly.